Okay, there we go. We fixed.
The what?
I have fixed it. We
My
are
bad.
now
You cut out.
live, bro. You got me? We're good?
Yeah, yeah. You're good now. My bad.
All right, cool. We're now live. Fix the problem. Welcome back to the show, late night show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the late night talk here at Talking About Radio. And we are live with our good friends over here at Infighting FX. Make some noise for Mario Mungia. Mario, how are you, bro?
Champ, we doing good on this late Friday night. Just finished up my recap of SmackDown, and you can go to fightsatw.com to check it out. Shout out to Abe Gonzalez.
Definitely shout out to Abe. Mario, what were your thoughts? Let's start right there, man. What were your thoughts on SmackDown tonight as it happened? Let's start with the bigger discussion with the is it McAfee-Mania to you as we step towards WrestleMania? Pat McAfee has been inserted into a match that didn't need any kind of twist or turn to it. It was student and master. This is a match that had almost 20 years of history behind it. Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. Now, there were some, it seemed like some deeper digs were taken tonight between Cody and Pat. It seemed like they got more into the real life of things. Cody spoke on, Pat McAfee, smoking a little weed, acting kind of crazy, sucking up to the right, kind of higher up the CEOs. But then Pat McAfee called out Cody Rhodes for being fake, for wearing all his suits, doing all the Ric Flair stuff, and being a great politician in the backstage area. What were your thoughts on that part of SmackDown tonight?
Yeah, man. Oh, it's a weird time, dude. It's such a weird time right now to be a wrestling fan, a longtime wrestling fan. And even more so, and this is why I'm happy to have this conversation with you, dude, because honestly, the faster we blow up your channel, the smarter I think boxing fans, wrestling fans, and MMA fans will be, because you mentioned it for a long time on my show. We spoke about this, this conglomerate that was TKO and what it was trying to accomplish and what it could accomplish. And, you know, everything. I mean, it would be way too long to bring all that stuff up, but basically where we're at is exactly where we were at last year. Ari Emanuel making phone calls, trying to get things more spicy, I guess, or whatever, around Mania time. And I understand that narrative. I do. The problem is that when you work as a suit, you're not a creative. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. Like, I'm sure Bill Gates has got a bunch of paintings that he's done. I'd venture to bet that they're not shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'd venture to bet that he's not the greatest painter ever. And so all I'm saying is that Ari Emanuel, if he wanted to be the booker, he could be the booker. He doesn't want to be the booker. He wants to make money. He wants to make money at the highest level. And he also has intervening or intertwined aspects to this, right? And I promise you, I'm going to get to my point. The thing is that he is also Pat McAfee's agent, right?
Mhm.
And there is this idea that is floating around that Ari Emanuel is trying to make a very, very big pitch for Pat McAfee to basically be the new Sylvester Stallone, right? The next Rocky, is what he's been quoted to saying to industry insiders. And so there's this like kind of thing here where it's like, wait a minute. So the guy that's going to get paid off the tickets and the guy that's going to get paid off of Pat McAfee's percentage is the guy that's influencing the current WrestleMania landscape, a landscape, as you yourself mentioned, didn't need any help. This thing was well built. I mean, I wouldn't say well built. It would have been well built, 6 months ago at SummerSlam. But at the end of the day, it existed the way it did without any need for interruption. But the biggest problem, Matt, and this is my point, is that Pat McAfee doesn't represent anything on the actual product itself, right? Both nights that he's come out, he ends his whole shtick with a commercial, right? And that's
Yes.
what I wrote about tonight. Tonight was ram tough, Matt.
It was a big
Tonight was
ad.
ram tough.
It was a big ad.
Guys, we got Dodge fucking Ram, as if him driving it into the fucking station, the camera panning onto the logo wasn't enough, right? We need to know that Dodge Ram, the people of the people, not a corporation, Americans people, and they want you to get to WrestleMania by taking 25% off of the worst night of WrestleMania only. And so, again, it's like you got to be one of two things, right? You're either part of the show or you're a plant meant to infuse things that people in suits that I don't give two shits about and don't give two shits about me. Like this whole thing, like basically he called us, not us, I don't mean us like you and I, but us as wrestling fans, poor, like poor family wrestling
Yeah.
guys that need their, and it's like, how about this, Pat? Fuck you. You were a kicker. You were a kicker. All right. That's the whole point of this is that you don't belong. And as talented as you are at hosting a bunch of drunk 18-year-olds on Saturday morning, you're not that guy, champ. We don't believe you. We don't buy it. You know what I'm saying?
Now,
So it's a big flat finish, in my opinion, every time he
it is
comes on.
it is super flat just because simply he's unnecessary, and I think that part of Cody Rhodes' promo, whether it was discussed, they wrote it up, or he thought it on his own, it doesn't need Pat McAfee. I don't. It didn't need the insert. If it was simply look, had they if they went with the way that they started it, right? In the beginning, like, look, Cody, this was supposed to be Drew. This was supposed to be easy. And then Cody tells Randy it's okay, do what you need to do, and then they go from there. Boom. But if you're telling me what Randy Orton needed to do was go get the services of Pat McAfee, that's insane. And that's because I like Pat. I like his show. I like, when he hosts other things with college football. His stuff's good. However, this is one of the main reasons why people that don't have anything to do with wrestling other than helping advertise it, in a sense, is what I want to say, don't need to get involved in the booking of the wrestling show. It never works. I was talking to my brother about this. I told him this reminds me of late 1990s, early 2000s WCW. Because we were talking about this in a chat that we had. The fact that there's so many like unnecessary like swerves and random log jams of celebrities, it kind
Yes.
of to me doesn't make any sense on why any of this exists as it is, bro. It's real Russo-rific, if you ask me. It really does. It seems like we're just like being so like, it's like they're letting us in on the joke too much, and now it's not funny. You know what I mean? Like all the inside baseball references, all the things that we all obviously know and talk about, all the things that not that a regular viewer of that show would want to talk about, but somebody like me and
Absolutely.
you are talking about. Things we're talking about behind the scenes with the ticket sales, with the product of the show as a whole, and why it's good and not good. Why these matches have no interest in them, why some of these stars aren't over like they're supposed to be. Now, in terms of celebrities, like I said, Pat McAfee isn't like really like a celebrity problem to me. He's just somebody that didn't belong in this match as a whole, right? But the big problem is when they start, blatantly like poking fun, they're not doing anything different than what didn't work in AEW a couple years ago. It's almost the
Um,
same. I want to say like it was the 2023 year of AEW where the booking was just like it didn't make any sense. People were just doing stuff. All the baby faces, nobody liked them. The heels were pretty much the baby faces, and the baby faces started fighting with each other. And this is what we had right here. A lot of it didn't make any sense. And this right here, as a show, was bad. This was really bad. And as
it
much as I said
even
last year,
more as a Road to WrestleMania show too.
yeah, which is next week, by the way, next week. And
Yeah,
let's take a look at this
it's a
card, man.
go home episode. Next week, I mean, yeah.
Night one, starts like this. Okay, and to me, this is a good card. It's built decent
It
matches. I think
it's
the one
it's really
problem
good, actually, I
there's
think.
not like super like celeb interference yet because there's no telling what they're gonna do on the show itself with bringing
Isn't
people in.
isn't isn't there though? I mean, you got 2
I mean,
celebs in the
if you look
six-man
at this,
tag, and then
there's really only one celebrity in this whole deck of cards right here. Because like I said, to me, Pat McAfee doesn't really count because he's already been involved. He was in NXT. He's had a few matches. You know,
I guess he's not the
he's with it.
outsider.
That's why I say he just does. He's a
You know
square
what? It's
peg in a
funny.
round
It's
hole.
funny. It's funny. I don't even know if you were getting to this, but you have such a brilliant opening point that it just made me realize that this first night is a very good snap pick
It's a
of
good
the
card.
evolution of celebrity usage in wrestling, because on one end you have the Logan Paul, who is still a celebrity but also a full-timer. You can't take
Yeah,
that away from him, right? Then
that's
in
right.
the middle you have the Pat McAfee, the guy who is very close to the business and has done some work and has been a big, operator as far as the narrative is concerned, specifically in the mainstream. And then you have IShow Speed, a guy who's been around a little bit but never really done much. And so yeah, that's a very good point.
Now, what are your thoughts? The first hour is on ESPN, and with the two matches,
I love it.
not only that, but the two matches they chose to put on ESPN.
Um, I love it. First of all, which are the two?
The ones on the bottom, so it'll be Jacob Fatu and
Oh,
Drew
my bad. I didn't even
McIntyre
see it right there. Yeah,
along with the
I
six-man tag match. Those will be the two matches
I knew the
on
IShow Speed
ESPN,
was
and then it will
okay.
move over to the app.
The app. Wow, 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 wow. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this real quick. Um, it's a brilliant move. It's a brilliant move if you think about it, because you got IShow Speed in one side, right? Who's gonna like obviously appeal, and then Logan Paul's gonna have mainstream appeal. You're gonna have a Yeet Storm at Mania. Let's pray to God it's the last for a while at least. You're gonna have a Yeet Storm, and so it's gonna be like this party atmosphere that you set on ESPN, right? Then you kick it into Drew Jacob, which I didn't know was in there, right? And honestly, I'm like, dude, are you kind of giving away too much here? Like,
Yeah.
but
Well,
it's like, dude, because after this go home angle, right? Drew McIntyre, I don't give a shit what anyone says, remains the best, most consistent, performer on the roster, whether he's in the main card title picture or in the mid card feud, doesn't matter. That guy's prison promo, Jesus, how good was that?
yes,
That
dude.
segment, and then handcuffing Jacob and yelling, how does it feel to be back in chains? And oh god, I just wanted him to say shackles so bad with that Irish accent. I just wanted him so bad to be like,
Yes,
you're in the shackles now, laddie. You're in the shackles
bro.
deep, like
And
some shit.
you're right because in terms of like what you were saying, is this too much? Because if you look at this whole card, right, in terms of interest, not like what's a good match on paper, in terms of a match that you're interested in terms of what it's been building to, Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu damn near could be the main event.
I think it definitely could. Yeah. I mean, no, I don't think it can in the
Just, but
Ari
like just off
Emanuel
how this
in the
match
Ari
has been
Emanuel
built, though.
TKO era. It can't. But from wrestling, like a traditional wrestling standpoint, honestly, it is the Mania main
Yeah,
event. It's the longest running feud
but
by
I'm saying
far.
like
It's the only one that hasn't taken a break, right?
as a weekly viewer, though, that you're like, I want to see that match. That match is gonna
Yeah.
be great, right? The rest of them,
Especially
you're kind of like,
compared to the card. Yeah, because it's like AJ
because
Becky is
you've
too
seen it.
Disney for me. It's
Yeah,
too
you've seen
Disney
it.
for me, and you've seen
Gunther and
it.
Rollins kind of got slapped together.
That
Liv,
and that it here's the thing, they could steal the show. I
yes.
think Seth and Gunther could steal the show. I'm not
That's what I'm saying.
excited
Like,
for
it's
it. I
not
mean,
not
I'm
what
excited to
makes it
see
a
it,
good
but
match. Because like you
yeah,
can
I
see
wanna see a
Seth
good
and
match.
Gunther, good match, right?
But it's not something that you're gonna be talking about,
Yeah.
right? Like after Mania.
And then
And then
yeah,
the
but
women's tag
Liv and
match would be
Stephanie, they
way
lost
better
their
if it was a ladder match.
Liv has definitely lost their steam. The Gunther Rollins match was kind of slapped together because people keep getting hurt. We've seen
Yes.
AJ and Becky. The
Yeah.
Rhodes and Orton match was super interesting until they did what they did, and it didn't. And what happened tonight didn't really bring more interest to
Oh,
that
man.
match. So
Dude,
it's
you're
like,
so fucking right about this. I did not realize this until I'm so glad that I got to do this with you
that's what I'm
tonight
saying. You're
before
kind of
next
right.
week's
Like, why
because
was
you're
that? Why
showing
is
me
this
something
the
here,
match?
dude.
Like, okay, like who's not like, especially because both of these guys are on cable. They're on USA Network on Friday nights. Who hasn't
Yeah.
seen Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu? Why are they on ESPN? Like,
Yeah,
why?
no, no, no. I
Why wouldn't you
agree.
put, you know, AJ and
Especially because
Becky
you could
or
put it
another, you know,
exactly.
something?
Especially because it's important, I think, to get the women over. See, there's this argument that men make, especially in the space that we occupy, where the WNBA is this, crybaby sport and they wouldn't exist without the NBA and all this. And you know who says those things? People that don't watch sports, people that don't keep up with the NBA,
Yes,
fucking no name streamers that just want clout chasing, right? Because the truth is, if you're a real fan of a sport, like I was with baseball, I played it, I lived it, my parents played it, my grandparents, like, we were deep in that shit, all right, deep in it. And so it was a livelihood for us. We wanted to see it expand everywhere so we could have more opportunities to play anywhere and everywhere. And expanding women's sports within a sport helps to grow that sport like phenomenally. When you look at the biggest sports in the world, there's sports that are equally played by women, right? It's like you got soccer and then you got like golf, which is probably the biggest sport in the world in terms of fandom, and they have
bro.
kids, they have old people can play, young
Yeah,
people,
bro, just last year, women's softball drew so much interest in their tournament last year in college.
Yes, Texas Tech, exactly. Like there was this. See, and that's the thing. Sports is about story. At the end of the day, narrative will drive people's interest. Nobody watched Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson because they thought, "Oh my God, two power punchers at the peak of their prime." Maybe Aiden Ross believed that shit, but the rest of us, we were watching because the story of evolution. It wasn't a fight between them. It was a
Want to be
fight
entertained.
between exactly. You wanted to be entertained. And what was more entertaining than seeing a man fight the father time in the ring? I mean, it was an awesome narrative. Terrible fight. Shouldn't be done again, but it was an awesome narrative.
Absolutely, bro. And I agree. And now you want to talk about giving away something too much too early. If you want to take a look here at night two, the opening matches are the six-man ladder match
Crazy, dude.
for the Intercontinental Championship, followed by Obafemi and Brock Lesnar. A match that people wanted to main event one of the night.
How, dude?
Will
How?
now
How is
will now
this?
wrap up the first hour on ESPN.
This is crazy.
What are your thoughts
Listen.
on this Sunday night card that has more matches with interest in it? It feels like they booked
Oh yeah.
the lineup correctly at least.
There's a reason Dodge is in pain for night two, right? Uh Listen, I this is I'm glad we're having this conversation. This is like really important for context, right? Because everybody would expect me to come out and just be like, "Oh my God, Brock Lesnar, Obafemi on the fucking free show is so stupid." And from within this universe that we've lived, it is stupid because we think of like the free for all, right? Before the pay per view, we think about YouTube free shows before the pay per view starts, right? We think about pay-per-views in that kind of sense. Whatever's and by the way, it's not just wrestling. Boxing has programmed us to think this way. The UFC has programmed us to think this way. Before there were free wrestling on ESPN, before the pay-per-view started, there was free fights, the prelims, the pre-prelims before giving that away for free to get people to buy the pay-per-view. And this is a tradition that goes back forever. You know what I mean? Like since Mike Tyson pay-per-views and even before that. Um there's a weird thing here, though, that makes me believe this is the right move. And that is my ability to have been a fan of wrestling as long as I have been boxing. Now, I look at boxing and I say, boxing as a competition, right? The traditions of it, that it's more popular than it's ever been.
Yes.
I mean, boxing is very popular. From a sports standpoint, it is almost dead, or it was almost dead. Turkey came and has revived a lot of it, but it makes nothing. I mean, it really does. It doesn't offer anything. So many networks have just gotten away from it, right? And washed their hands of it. And so, but the problem is that boxing's so powerful that eventually you come back around, right? It's kind of like a cyclical thing. All I know is that boxing is closer to dead as a sport based on the fact that it existed behind a paywall before DAZN and pay-per-views, or not pay-per-views, but before DAZN pay-per-views, I should say, there was HBO Showtime. The best quality programming as it related to boxing was either behind premium channels and or pay-per-view. So that set the precedent for where we are today. And all I know is that boxing never had the chance to thrive the way that Aiden Ross's stupid fucking promotion Brand Risk is thriving, because it's never had the opportunity to be on screens where people's eyeballs are forced to be on. You know what I mean? The more people that are capable of seeing your product, the more people that are going to become return customers. And so when you offer something like Lesnar Obafemi, something that has garnered the attention of the mainstream by far, and probably isn't even going to be that long of a match. Let's also be honest about that.
I
The
was going to
fucking
bring that up
entrances,
too.
the
Not to
entrances are going
interrupt,
to be longer than that.
not to
So,
interrupt you.
I
I
think
wanted to
it's
bring that
smart.
up.
I think it's smart.
Is it smart though? Because me and you see this, right? And you said that just right now. If you look at the match that it's paired with a 6-man ladder match, which is going to be Spot City, right? That's going to take up most of the first hour, and I imagine the first hour is also going to be a pre-show at the same time. Does that not point us in the direction that this Brock Lesnar Obafemi match is going to be a squash, and is the wrong man going to get squashed?
Um, so I would say that everything you brought up is just cherries on top of the ice cream that we've been fed that makes us believe that this was always going to be a short match, right? Squash and a short match. There is a fine line between the two, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately, this match is better off being super short for two reasons. Number one, Lesnar's not going away. This isn't a retirement match, right? So you
No.
got to leave something for if they run it back or Gunther or something like that, right? The other thing is not overexposing Obafemi. While Obafemi seems like $1 million right now, again, the one thing I've learned in my career is that the bright lights are very different to perform under. They are something that can absolutely disrupt even the most, fucking blue chipper, natural athlete or natural sportsman or whatever. It can trip them up. We've seen it happen in every single sport there ever is. That's why the Super Bowl, the question's always asked to the guy that's first getting there, whether he's a veteran or a rookie. Hey, it's your first Super Bowl. How nervous are you? Why did I say Super Bowl? I don't know why I said that like that, but and so they ask these questions because they're relevant, because we've seen that the brighter the lights, the more the eyes, the more difficult it is to perform, right, under that kind of pressure. Giving Obafemi the least amount of homework before you send him out into the brightest lights he's ever seen, that is probably the best move. And if you ask me who's going to get squashed, if you had asked me 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I'd have said Lesnar every single time. I would have said Obafemi every single time. I am of the firm belief that Lesnar is getting squashed now. I
You think
really
so?
believe it. I think that WWE recognizes what's best for them today, right? If it were Vince and he were like, "Oh man, which one of these guys is more sexy?" Because I'm assuming that's how Vince booked at this point. Bret Hart's taught me so much about that era. And so I think Vince would come in and he'd be like, "Wait, which one of these two guys would I like to make out with?" And so then he'd pick Lesnar and Lesnar would win, and then he'd book Lesnar to win in this situation. But now we have people who's doesn't give a shit about how sexy their wrestlers are. They care about money. And if you're going to make money long term, Obafemi is the guy that's going to make it for you, right?
Right.
Lesnar's halfway in, halfway out, and you can create that star while still leaving something there for Gunther to finish that narrative off, because he's got to retire. Lesnar. It would be
I mean,
so crazy for him not to, with
you
everything
could
they've
still,
done building him up as the career guy.
but you could still get there even if he drops it on Sunday and you bring him back in the summer and he can beat somebody up again
Agreed.
to build him back to a Gunther match. But I feel like I understand what you're saying. Who's going to make you the money is the Obafemi, right? But I feel like the person that's a lot closer to making you the money that deserves more time like that to be exposed is Trick Williams. Trick Williams is on a highway, no, an expressway to be one of the biggest stars in wrestling today. And I feel like it's his work in the ring, it's his reactions with the crowd, how he interacts with them, how he speaks, how they react to him, and he's just got them in the palm of their hands right now. And I feel like this mid card title run for him to beat Sammy should have been one of the matches on ESPN. And then you have Oba, and don't get me wrong, I wasn't expecting Oba and Brock to go 20 minutes, but if you give them a solid 10 minutes in ring, 10 minutes on an actual card to open it up on the regular card, then to me that's better because, like I said, Trick Williams is gonna everywhere. Trick Williams is a heel. Like I said, he's probably one of the most popular heels in wrestling right now. That's probably going
Easily.
to be a babyface soon. So Trick Williams, to me, deserves that spot, especially right behind that 6-man ladder match. No way to keep them hyped up and into it than bringing out Trick Williams. But I digress.
Yeah, I agree. So I wrote in my recap tonight, I said that there had been many times in the last year that Sami Zayn either seemed like he'd be turning heel, or there at least would be some sort of like tease on it, right? And it happened after Jey Uso won the heavyweight title. The Raw after Mania, we saw Sammy give a very long stare down to Jey Uso's title, specifically when Jey Uso had his back turned. And it was just kind of this menacing look. Nothing came from it. Here we are all this time later. And I think we might be able to consider this one of the worst heel turns ever. Because you think about it, he got booed out of the fucking building tonight. They booed the shit out of him in San Jose. And by the way,
They wanted nothing to do with him.
you want to talk a little inside wrestling, a little inside baseball wrestling edition right now. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about why he was so desperate to get over in front of that California crowd. For those that don't know, Sami Zayn got his start as Generico and a few other names in the past. And where he specifically got over was the California circuit amongst the Young Bucks and Kevin Steen and a lot of these guys. In fact, GPW is one of the places that he helped put on the map. And so when he thinks of San Jose and some of these other, coastal cities in California, he thinks of home. He thinks of the fans that are his ride or dies. And these people are like Kanye West level fans. They love everything. I mean, I'm not suggesting Sammy's a Kanye West level type of star, but all I'm saying is that these guys love him. And when he could not get cheered in San Jose, when he couldn't find any of his hardcores, and he's pleading on the mic, where are you? I know you're here. I know it. I couldn't hear a single cheer. I was waiting for that little glimpse of cheers from the virgins that are sitting in the corner, because that would have been me, right? Being like, yeah, I'm a fucking mark for Generico. Like that would have been me, and I couldn't hear a single virgin in the crowd. It's like we can't even afford to go to the shows anymore. And if virgins don't show up, who's even going to go to wrestling shows? No, I'm just kidding. But all I'm saying is that there was a moment in the road to WrestleMania where the rumor was that Sammy and Trick were going to wrestle, and they were going to attempt a Bret Hart Stone Cold style, crossover. And I thought that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough giving both of these characters. And now I absolutely think that's exactly what's going to end up happening. And Sammy's going to embrace the dark side fully. And I'll say this too. Bret Hart going into that Mania, he was heel. Like honestly, like I mean, to the rest of us, he was playing the face. But bro, he started that America's full of shit stuff
Oh, you're talking about
way before that. The WrestleMania
going
13
into 13, yeah, because he was
yeah.
already like anti-America.
Yeah. He had I think he even already had his program with the Patriots. So,
He was
people talk about this heel turn that came and it was like crazy and he was a face and everybody loved him and everybody hated Stone Cold. That's not really how it went down. You know what I mean? So,
they
revisionist
had already
story.
turned him into like a whiner, but he was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
legitimately good at it.
It was really tough to root for him at that time. But you know what? You know what it is though? You go back and you listen to his promos, Matt. He was fucking kind of right. Like he was like, "Oh, all I care about is fucking guns and war machines." And it was like, "Wait, he does he know something that's is
Yeah,
that part of 9/11?" No, I'm just kidding.
he was right, but it's like the delivery of it. You know what I mean? As a complainer, not as
That's
somebody that's
what made him
bringing
the
up.
heel.
That's what,
Yes.
like, yeah, not that he's bringing up solid points and things that are actually wrong with the country at the time, but the fact that his like he said like, and you guys don't even take care of the elderly, and it's like
Yeah.
that. You know, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
so
yeah,
like
and he's like,
defining.
"All you do is over sexualize," and it's like,
Yeah,
"You're on a show where we've just seen Sable's tits. I don't think you have the right to like, you're still cashing those checks." And by the way, that was a very similar narrative to what Pat McAfee used successfully on Punk, and I don't wanna cross over too early, but that's another narrative, in and of itself. You were talking about the Cody and Randy stuff. I'll be honest, it feels like that Pat McAfee Punk
yeah.
storyline is
But
way
it
more hot
you can't
than
tell.
anything else right now. Pat went in, bro. He was
It
like, "Yo,
doesn't
you're
seem
not
like
even an athlete. You have the worst physical shape ever." Bro, for the people like me who squat more than CM Punk but never had it to be a wrestler because we're only 5'6", I was like, "Yeah, Pat." And then I was like, "Wait, I'm cheering for Pat. Never mind. Fuck that." But
bro. But like,
yeah, that was crazy work.
where are they building up a program between Pat McAfee and CM Punk? Is that something that the people would even want to see?
I can't imagine so. I mean, who's gonna buy Pat McAfee beating CM Punk? Like,
Then what do they do? Are they or what are they doing with these promos across shows? Well, that
I
doesn't
think
make any
Pat
sense.
I think Pat brings out the Rock at some point. Look, here's the real problem, Matt, and I wrote this in my recap. Okay? I named the man that should not be named, right? Harry Potter is about to come back on HBO Max. Cannot wait to see it in a TV series, even if Black Snape might become problematic. Um, if all of that is like you look at everything that they do with like a big narrative, right? Like that or like Marvel or whatever, you have to have that big final boss that they keep teasing, right? And the man that won't be named is Ari Emanuel. You know what I mean? Like they haven't said his name,
Yeah,
but they keep referring to him, right? They
yeah,
keep
they give a
referring
reference.
to this guy. So I am very confident saying this. I don't have any sources. I don't have any inside information, but I'm very confident saying that Ari Emanuel will never, ever in a million years be an on screen character. The real life version of him will never show up to a Raw or a SmackDown or pay per view and go out in front of the crowd. It won't happen. And other than maybe like a little thing, a video vignette of somebody signing at TKO or whatever, and he walks by or something, right, as an Easter egg, we'll never get him. So there has to be someone, right? That someone's The Rock. It's got to be The Rock. At the end of the day, the biggest storyline coming out of Mania last year had nothing to do with anything that happened at Mania. It had everything to do with The Rock not showing up. And The Rock continued that storyline when he went on whose show? Pat
Pat McAfee
McAfee's.
show.
And he revealed the Ari Emanuel shit. And he had the fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex in the back. This guy has always been a character. He never stopped being a character. He just wanted to make money elsewhere for now. And ultimately, I think him not going to Mania didn't it wasn't going to make the Smashing Machine any bigger or any more well received if he did go to Mania. But I think that was like a trend And people like Ari Emanuel, that's how they look at trends, right? They see, wait, people were up on The Rock. They loved him. Even when he was playing a heel. What was different? He didn't show up to Mania. His core base abandoned him. And now he's going to come back. And so the fact that we all expected him last year, he wasn't there. Now we don't expect him this year. I think he's going to hop that jet and be there.
But is that going to fix the problem? Because the problem is that they're injecting people that don't belong. If we inject more people that don't belong, even though we like some of those people just for a payoff, would it still change the interest level of that you have? Is in 7 days, if they tease more that The Rock is going to be there, is it going to move more tickets for Saturday night?
Oh my God, what a good question. What a fantastic question. And the answer to that question is no, it doesn't fix it by itself. Not at all. Because the problem isn't necessarily the interference. The problem is that they believe that they can interfere, kind of like touch the cue ball on its way and affect what angle it strikes the 8. um that's not the way it works, right? You have to commit to commitment, right? And I'll use Marvel as an example. Right now, you have a lot of people wanting and waiting for Marvel's Avengers Doomsday, right? But it's not like a lot. It's more like, are they going to shit the bed type of anticipation? Whereas the first one was widely anticipated from critics, from fans. Like, everybody wanted to see it because it was an amazing story being told. We had a character in Thanos that was built up, right? Doom is a much wider known character, but he's not been built up. Nobody knows anything about him. So that's really the crux of this whole thing, is that The Rock being introduced doesn't solve the problem, because the problem is that they think they can just put in a celebrity and then take him out and it's fine. However, The Rock is a solution to the actual problem, which is continuity. It's storyline. That's their biggest problem. People didn't hate Travis Scott and John Cena and Cody Rhodes last year because it sucked. I mean, it did suck, but it sucked mostly because The Rock wasn't there. You add in The Rock, you lose the element of Travis Scott being the definitive aspect of him winning the title. You add to the heel aspect of Cena's turn. All those things, you mar that shit from Johnson. It would have just worked, and you don't have to keep The Rock on every week, right? He doesn't have to be the Vince McMahon authority figure, but ultimately you have to have a universe that lives and breathes. And as it stands right now, WWE seems to be reshaped every 3 to 6 months. And it just doesn't work like that. When we have people putting in work weekly so that those people that got over can come back and give it back, we still haven't seen that. The Rock hasn't come back and taken that Cody Rhodes L. The Rock hasn't come back. Like, everything about what he's done has been to undermine all the good he's done.
Now, Mario, let me ask you two questions real quick. First, when it comes to this situation that we speak on with The Rock, right? When there's a wrestling term for this, right? And that I've heard from a couple of older guys that used to book, work in the WWF, WWE managers. When you're watching a wrestling show, right, and you notice the crowd, when something happens in a match, you notice the crowd instantly look to the ramp, right, to the entrance ramp. What does that mean?
That means they're horned up
That
and
means
bored.
you're doing too many run-ins, right?
Yes, yes.
It means you're doing way too many run-ins. Did WrestleMania 40 ruin main event matches on that scale, especially ones involving one Cody Rhodes, right?
Yeah.
Because you got the simple one with Solo at 39, and then you got the complete Avengers mode at WrestleMania 40. Then you got the absolute wet fart of Travis Scott the next year, right? When everybody was expecting The Rock. If you keep doing this, you have to top it. Similar to, the Dudleys would put people through tables, but then Edge speared somebody through a flaming table, right? How do you beat that? You have to keep eventually one up in it. Eventually, you're gonna run out of legends, and you're just gonna have so many run-ins in one match, so many appearances and guest appearances in a match. It's not gonna be about the match. It's gonna be about who's around the match.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, no,
no, no,
no.
no.
Very
Very.
well said. Because it's like, did that moment, WrestleMania 40, ruin the match or ruin that WrestleMania match? No, right? But then when you ask, did it set a precedent that now the less educated on wrestling are just trying to duplicate, not realizing that the history and the narrative shaped how we felt about it. They thought, oh, it's as simple as adding a celebrity. All we got to do is add, but there's no one like The Rock, right? The Rock is a celebrity, and yet he's homegrown. So it just, they don't understand
Yeah.
yet. They don't
But
understand
to
yet.
me,
But I
though,
honestly think
Mario, that's
that
the
they're
problem.
learning with Pat.
To me, though, that's the problem. Is like in TKO's eyes, Travis Scott is a bigger celebrity than The Rock, right? You look at the numbers, that's true. But in wrestling, nobody cares about Travis Scott. In wrestling, nobody cares about Jelly Roll. They like him, but we don't want him involved
Very
in
well said.
8 segments in a 3 hour show.
Very well
Wrestling
said.
likes Pat McAfee, but not in the middle of the main event storyline that already had a story, right? There's maybe, well, not anymore. Alive, there's one wrestler bigger than The Rock that's not already wrestling. You can't bring him in to this situation because it wouldn't make sense. But
At all.
Stone
Yeah.
Cold is the only wrestler bigger than The Rock that you could throw in this situation. Outside of that, there's nobody else you could really bring in to just generate a bunch of interest and for the fans to pop and be like, "Oh my God, look who's here!" Right? And that's what these matches have turned into, and it's really been a big problem because even people that say like that's one of the best finishes, WrestleMania 40, that was the best finish in the last 10 years, and they always stop at the Undertaker coming back, and that wasn't even the finish of the match. You know, that's why I said it's more about like who got involved compared to what the meaning of that was for that match. That was Cody Rhodes finishing his story, right? Everybody only cared about The Rock, Cena, Taker getting involved. Seth Rollins. Big, big spot, pop, 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 right? Reaction. Now, the next one I wanted to ask you, just because it's been teased, it's another one of those things that have been teased similar to what we've seen in the past, right? Like they just teased what's been going on with Pat McAfee, with Chris Jericho possibly jumping ship, and he didn't.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of references to one Vince McMahon. If Vince McMahon is the big final boss, do you think he will be accepted? One, and two, is that a good enough answer to get you the reaction? Because that is probably the only other person in the WWE universe and lore that you could bring out that's bigger than anybody.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say what's up to Supermax, who I know is holding your cue cards right now. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. No, listen. You know, you're good at this because you often are able to check the pulse of the online community. And while I thought that it seemed ludicrous that they would bring Vince back, um, I'm starting to not think it's as ludicrous. First of all, so many people seem on board and or excited about the potential of it being him. Um, Now the beauty of him is you can retcon anything, right? Even though Vince hasn't had anything to do with TKO and what's been going on, you can retcon him in a way that you can't with Stone Cold, right? The other thing about it is this: you answered it. You said that it works for the narrative. It works so well for the narrative, because let's not forget what this ultimate story is, Matt. When The Rock came back, there was this fight for who the new family of wrestling would be, right? With Vince out of the way and Steph like all but fucking fired. I don't even know what was going on that time. Um, it seemed like the the rings of power were up for grabs, right? And it seemed like the only two entities that could really take it were Cody Rhodes and the Rhodes family, and or The Rock, Roman, and all of them. And so you hear mentions, right? Shout out to Super Mex. You know, Mex said it. They've been mentioning Vince by not mentioning Vince,
Mhm.
right? Like Steph said, "Oh my, this is the house my grandfather built, by the way." And it's like all these little references. You know, Paul did it. They did it this week
Yeah.
or tonight. So it keeps happening, and it keeps happening in a way where it's like not a full blown like reveal. And so I just feel, and by the way, another story that recently came out a few weeks ago was that Vince was part of creative. Some affidavits had shed light that at a time in 2023, I think it was, when he was publicly ousted from the company, he was still involved in creative. And that's something that a lot of y'all, or a lot of you basically had said, a lot of you had said on Infighting show, was that y'all thought that he was still somehow had his finger on it. So the fact that we keep getting these little stories that kind of push a narrative make me feel like it's definitely not as crazy as I once thought it was. Would he be accepted? Yeah, absolutely. Like at Mania, yes, it would be one of the
But he get
biggest
the right.
pops ever, ever, right? However, I mean, when all you're gonna hear is like, no chance, I mean, it's gonna erupt. Like it could be like a borderline riot. They would have to like calm everyone down. It would be Shane McMahon's entrance on steroids, right? That said, though, that live crowd will never be the problem. The problem is the crowd after, right? So many people believe in like DEI and shit like that. Like that's not a real thing, right? Corporations don't give a shit about trans people or gays or black rights or anything, right? They don't care. They care about people buying their product. And so when they don't associate with somebody, right, it's because they think that they're going to hurt their brand, right? These are the people that work for like Bud Light and fucking Target. These are calculated people, right? And they know the pros and cons of who they bring in. So if they are bringing Vince in, I'd assume that they've done probably about 2,000 different, studies or customer relation studies or whatever. And they know that it's worth the bang for their buck.
I mean, I would bring him in, bro.
But that was, see, and that was never cancel culture. There's no such thing. Cancel culture is really just a made up thing that they try to do in order for companies to like get away from blame, right? Like in the real world, like we all talk shit or whatever, or somebody is like, "Oh, you're bad for doing this." But when like corporations distance themselves, like again, it's all for media shit, right? Like
Yeah.
that's all it is. And
It
so
was,
again, I think
especially when it
Vince
was
may
proven like
represent
it
something
couldn't
positive
work
for
on
them.
everybody. Not you can't cancel everybody.
Yeah, no. I mean, because when you say that, you like cancel him from what, right? Like, could Vince come back and be like an actor? No, fuck no. Could he come back and be like the Tonight Show host? Fuck
No.
no, not at all. But he could he come back and be another fucking villain wrestling character? Absolutely. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're saying like
Not only
cancel
that,
from
bro.
what?
Not only that, bro. He's still a fucking billionaire. What that doesn't change.
Oh yeah.
His
And I assume
life on
people
that
with
does
money
not
like
change.
that, yeah, I assume when you get money like that, like nothing interests you other than like power and like what you can actually accomplish, right? Because it's like at that point you have enough money to do anything. So now you want to do the things that money can't buy, right? Like Trump could have made millions upon millions if he went back to his TV show. But it's like he has millions. Like what hasn't he had? The fucking presidency of the United States. You know what I mean? So it's like they go after these things that, like hunting people. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
But yeah, man, it's just to me. There's been too many references, like we were just talking about. Stephanie kind of danced around him, going to the grandpa. CM Punk
Exactly.
referenced him, the creepy old
Directly.
man. Roman Reigns has mentioned him. He's been mentioned by Pat McAfee now. His name is just coming up. His case itself has gone kind of quiet out there. So it's to me, it would make a lot of sense in terms of just like if we want to pop the people at Mania for somebody that doesn't need to stick around. Vince McMahon walking out there to just affect the match in any kind of way, right? Even if it's just for him to, even if it's just for him to strut out there, say some wacky shit, and then leave, and then that's how the match ends, right? People will pop for him just walking in the ring.
People will pop for that. It here's the thing though, like you can still use it as long-term canon, right? Because like, okay, the thing would be him going out there, affecting the match, and then that's it. But if we learn 3 months later, 5 months later, the next night on Raw, that Vince went out there at the behest of someone else, still setting this hierarchy, and now you kill the monster of Vince McMahon and his all power, and you reveal there's someone with more power. And you can ride that train for as long as you want. Vince can die. I don't mean to be crude
Another good
or
point
like
right there.
crass, but he could die next year. And guess what? It's like, who cares? Because he has just helped elevate the villain arc, right, of wrestling.
Another good point right here in the comments that the bigger sign is that they're making TKO the villain. They're making them the heel, the bad guy. And it's true. That's who the fans are really mad at because now they're turning it into storyline with the wrestlers. They're shouting at their bosses essentially to lower ticket prices just to get like, you know, a little rah rah. Yeah, everything's too high. And look what they did. They brought a Ram truck and gave you a 25% discount for one night.
Hey, so would it be better for Vince to come out and be the face that helps Cody? And he's like, if anyone's going to destroy this company, it's gonna be me. And then
No,
Justin Timberlake
because he
comes
would
out.
need to be on the side of Randy Orton, wouldn't he? If he's coming
No,
out
no, no. It
to
makes way more
if
sense.
he's
Yes.
coming out to be
But
opposite of TKO, right? And to me also,
oh yeah.
Cody
No,
Rhodes needs
well,
to capitalize on this golden boy thing when he turns heel. It's gonna be perfect for him. But he's the guy. Like I understand, like it's like that was Vince's last like signing, but at this point, he's the guy that TKO wants because he's been their champion this whole time, pretty much. Outside of like John Cena fails run, but Cody Rhodes is essentially the TKO guy. If
yeah,
Vince was to
honestly,
come
the
back,
stories
he would
worked way
represent
better
Randy
like that.
Orton.
Here's
It
the
would
thing.
make sense.
I agree with you. It works better because that's the world we've been living in, right? But it doesn't seem like they're as ready to turn Cody heel as I
I
thought they
thought they
were,
were
right?
right.
And so if they want to keep him face, they have to find a way to kind of inject some Stone Cold into him, right? How do you inject Stone Cold into John fucking Cena? Well, you can't. But what you can do is have him be the anti-authority figure. How do you do that? Well, he, kept away from The Rock, so that was good enough for now. But ultimately, you find a way to make someone a bigger douchebag or a bigger company, what's it called? Like, like their golden goose or whatever, their poster boy. And so I agree with you fully. You're not wrong. Cody Rhodes has
Now,
been cemented in that role.
hang on now, because you can still turn Cody Rhodes heel as the golden boy of TKO in that way, right? Because you've already established a member of the TKO board on screen to watch Cody Rhodes matches in Nick Khan, right? Nick Khan has been front row for like the last three Mania main events, and those have involved Cody Rhodes. He remember 40 shook his hand right when he won the belt. Went to right there, shook Nick Khan's hand. You can make it to where yes, this happens, and Cody Rhodes can just simply sell out and be the new corporate champion, legitimate corporate champion, the TKO champion.
Yo, what we take it even a step further, and we find out Cody Rhodes did sell his soul to The Rock from the very beginning. he sold his soul to The Rock. And he comes out and he's like, "You fucking idiots bought all these tickets and we played you just like you thought that a fucking 125-pound soaking foot rapper was enough." Yo, you would bury John Cena. You'd have that would be a burial of John. But who cares? He's fucking gone, right?
And I just want to say, I was one of the first people, and people are saying it now online, that how stupid is it that like they come out to the ring at some point in the show and they're like, all right, everybody, thank you for your money. We got this much this time. Woo! Yeah.
Yeah, bro. They
Appreciate it.
don't get it. They don't get it. It's like a
I
flex
get
for
the
them.
sentiment that they try to use, but I'm just like, hold on, like you're like legit like, thanks for charging me out the ass.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
hey,
You're thanking me
hey,
for taking it at this point.
hey, if we're gonna look out the matrix for this segment, can I give you one too?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get outside the matrix for a second and make fun of this stuff. Uh Pat McAfee, can you listen real quick? Let me tell you something real quick, just real quick. And also the good people at Dodge. I'm from Texas. Okay, so I think I have the authority to say this. Um, um, Coming out in a like a badass Dodge Ram
Sweet
doesn't
ass
mean
dog.
shit. Doesn't mean shit if the tires were still stock. Okay, so I'm sorry, it was an L because no lift, no fucking
Bro,
tires, no
it
fucking
came. We
rims.
all
I mean,
know
come
it came
on,
straight
big
from the
dog. Like, just
dealership, bro.
stay that. Yeah, and you know what? That's where it belonged. Back on the dealership. Go take it back to the dealership, and
That
you
was
bring something back that's worthy of fucking SmackDown. All right, you bring
that was
something.
that was one of the
Yo,
trucks that was on the showcase lift outside in the front, bro.
nah, bro. Those were the tires from a 1998 Dodge Ram. That's what you didn't know is they had they put a new model on them bitches. They were just like blah. Yeah, it was crazy,
Hey,
bro.
what do
It
you
was
think about
crazy.
about this point by Mex though, bro? He's saying that it sounded like they were pumping in crowd noise for Pat McAfee tonight.
Um, I wouldn't be surprised, and that's the problem. See, WWE doesn't realize they create most of their own problems, right? Like, don't pump in the crowd noise, right? And if you're going to, save it for a moment where it's like you need that fucking crowd noise, right? Because Mex is right to not be trusting. I'll say this. Pat McAfee, based on everything I saw online this week, not only earned those boos, but they were forthcoming. You know what I mean? So I also would believe that that's the kind of heat he's garnered. You know what
Well,
I mean?
but like think about it, bro. If they're really pumping those in, doesn't that mean that the people are in there cheering what Pat McAfee is saying, and they're like, yeah, this shit does suck. We don't like this. It's too expensive. The show's bad.
Yeah, bro. It's such a and that's the
Because think
thing
about it,
that's
when
so
Randy
weird
comes
about this.
when they boo Cody, it sounds natural. But when Randy comes out and does stuff, he's the heel, but they're cheering Randy and they're
They're
playing Pat.
cheering Randy. Oh man, they and by the way, all of this started I'm not trying to just plug Fights ATW the whole time, but
Yeah.
I wrote about this problem like 8 months ago on fightsatw.com covering both AAA and WWE products because I saw, wait a minute, this El Grande Americano thing is kind of a problem because you take them to AAA, one of them's a heel, one of them's a face, you bring them back to WWE, and the opposite is true. And I thought to myself, there's no way WWE doesn't know or doesn't notice this is happening. And then I thought to myself, well, they'll try to like fix it with narrative or something. Never happened. They didn't give a fuck. They just kept running with it. And that has led me to the point where I am now. And that is that I don't think they distinguish boos from cheers anymore. I don't think they I don't think they even care. I think the louder you get, whether it's upset or happiness, they're good. So if they can twist the
I don't
screws
know,
with
bro. We've
Pat,
seen them twist
it
it.
could work a lot more.
We've seen them twist it though, bro. Recently, especially not even with McAfee. Uh, just at the show on the Rumble, bro. We heard them pumping in the crowd noise when the whole crowd wasn't even there yet.
Yeah,
Even
no,
during
I
the Royal
know.
Rumble, half the crowd wasn't there.
No, no, no. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's reason to be suspect. Absolutely. All I'm saying is that the fans hate it enough that it could be genuinely getting over. Like that happens when something's so shit that the fans are like, we fucking hate this. but then they're paying to watch. You know what I mean? And they're showing up every week. So who knows?
Who knows?
Uh, yeah, and see, Mex is these are great points that he's saying, because I don't think he's wrong. At the same time, you can see that Pat understands the themes of wrestling, like going after Punk the way he did on those terms. Those were huge. You
Oh
know
my
what I
god.
mean? And then what else did he say? Fuck, he said things, and then the fans were like, and so it wasn't like, oh, you saw everybody going crazy, but you saw a handful of older fans that are probably, inside baseball type guys that were like, oh, fuck, he went there with it.
Yeah.
Like, wow, he
He
said,
talked about how Punk apologized to Saudi
yes,
Arabia, and
I
he
was
went and
literally about to say
he
that. He called it the Saudi Sorry
he's like, is
Fund.
he donating to these groups that help wrestlers, or is it going straight to his bank account? Which all this was good.
Bro, it
Is it
was.
going to go
It
anywhere
was.
between Pat and Punk? I don't know.
It has to. He said he's got 283 things for sale. And I wonder myself, when that TKO check comes through, which account does it go to? And it's like, wait, Pat, you're on the TKO side, but you're also mad that they're fucking up the product? Or are you saying Triple H is responsible? See, that's the kind of stuff that would hook me, right? If Pat McAfee were to
Well,
come out tonight and have been
that's the
like,
thing, though.
this
Remember,
product has sucked, and everybody knows that it's that bald-headed Nepo baby in the back, Triple H. Bro,
that
it
was
would
the point
be,
of his promo to Punk, though. Is like, you're talking about me and my agent, who you also work for, right? And you have no
yeah.
problem working for him, and you're doing the same fucking thing, and I work
But let's
with
name
him.
names,
And
though. Let's say
it's like
names.
technically he works for me, you work for him. You have no problem
Exactly.
working with him. So
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
you're calling the kettle black.
Yeah, it's just a weird situation they found themselves in. But the underlining thing here is that CM Punk represents something and Pat McAfee represents something. And so when they go out there and they say the things out loud, it hits different. I mean, Punk mentioning the tickets, that was a fucking moment. And Pat McAfee, mentioning the Saudi shit, or mentioning poor
Yeah,
ass
saying
wrestling
sorry,
family
sorry. That
fans.
was a good one.
Crazy, bro. Like, and even the wrestling fan stuff, like, that was fucked up for him to say. Like, I know families right now who take their kids all the time and they're not going. I've known them for
Yeah.
years and they're not going, and the kids are devastated. And at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. They've been a million times. I'm not saying, oh, you got to feel sorry for these fucking kids that are like middle class wealthy. All I'm saying is that it's like not a thing you can really make good. You know what I mean? And so you're going to go there with it. Ooh, that's good to me. Let's keep going. Let's see how far you're going to take it, though.
Now we'll talk about one last thing that doesn't really have interest going on. Even though, like, for the platform that it's on, usually things like this have more, but I'm guessing it's just simply off of opponent and the people that are on the card under it. Tyson Fury returns to the ring tomorrow. I believe main event time is 5:45 Eastern, live on Netflix. But Mario, it seems that nobody really cares that the Gypsy King is back, man. What are your thoughts on the fight coming up tomorrow, and why is there no buzz around it, especially being on Netflix?
Yeah. There's no buzz because, the guy he's fighting has, no real super great wins on his record. Caballero is probably the best guy he ever fought. Lost to him. He lost to Guido Vianello, who, was fucking 12-2 at the time. And most recently he beat David Allen, who, you and I will remember as a UK bum, basically. No, he's not a bum. He's not a bum. That was just me making a joke. No, but he is not very
Is he
good.
on the undercard of this card?
I think he is, yeah. Uh-huh. And so when you look at all of that, you look at a guy who doesn't inspire anything, and for Tyson Fury to be at his best when it comes to promoting, he has to believe the guy believes, and I just don't think he believes the guy believes. That said, though, I am very interested in watching, not because I think it's a great fight that we're gonna get, but mostly because I want to see what's left of Tyson Fury. We got to recently see what's left of Deontay Wilder,
Woo.
and Anthony Joshua was just, he was in a crash. We haven't even seen what's left of him. So the interest in Wilder for me, because I don't think he's going to fight, any of the fucking names he's mentioned, other than the big paydays. And so we'll see what Tyson Fury's got left. Um, I'm also excited to see the Rappaport fight too.
Good one. Obviously a good one. Um,
Not Conor Pinnell.
Now, in terms, there is a little bit of buzz around this because what's being promoted by Tyson Fury himself is that there's going to be an announcement essentially with what is presumed to be Anthony Joshua and a tease of that fight coming up in the future, Mario.
Yep.
But there has been some concerns talking in terms of Tyson Fury, what he's been saying, what his dad's been saying, that, Tyson's not the same. He's kind of lost a step. His heart's not really into it. And we've seen these setup fights go wrong, especially here in the last 5 years. It's happened a few times. Is there a chance that this is a banana peel for Tyson Fury again, who, remember, he had the setup for the Alexander Usyk undisputed, had the hiccup with Ngannou, got the eye injury, and then didn't really look confident in that first Usyk fight, and then came back with the second. And he thought he won, I didn't. But what are your thoughts on that? Is it enough confidence behind Tyson Fury to get this AJ fight set up? And if not, is AJ and Wilder still big enough to make you want to watch it here as an American fan?
That answer I'll give first because it's the simplest yes, 100 times yes. I don't care that it's not for heavyweight supremacy. I care that it settles a question that I've been asking for almost a decade now. By the way, actually, no, almost a decade. Yeah, a decade now. Wow, dude, time has flown. A
Yes.
decade we've been fighting over this one. So I think it's definitely. Look, is it going to be the hot fight that everybody once saw it as? No, because the younger generation is more concerned with the Haneys and the Garcias and the Shakurs. But ultimately, heavyweight boxing is always a spectacle, right? And so, what I think is that it's not a banana pill. It is a banana pill because of everything you said, right? And boxing long enough and well enough to know why it represents that. But I don't think it does necessarily represent what it normally represents for fighters that are looking for a big cash out at the end of their career. Because for Tyson Fury, I do believe that he cares about winning. I don't think he's like, a lot of other guys who are willing to put their record up or put their career up for a big payday. I think that he cares about winning, and I don't think he'd want to go in the Joshua fight for a payday without knowing what he's got left and hoping it shows up on fight night. So that's part of it. The other part, Matt, is I wonder how much he's auditioning at this point, right? Because you brought up the Wilder Joshua. That fight is something we'd never saw, and it gives multi-country interest, right? Whereas the Joshua Fury fight is certainly a huge fight in the UK, maybe one of the biggest of all time, but it's really like only a UK fight, right? It's like not a lot. I mean, I think American fight fans will be interested, but I don't think beyond that, the casual fans really going to care so much. So I think to a degree, is it Tyson Fury auditioning, saying like, guys, we've seen that Wilder fight a million times. We haven't seen you and Joshua. Which one of you is going to help sell this fight of two geriatric, guys in a promotion?
Who do you favor in that fight, bro?
Which one?
Joshua and Fury.
Man, to be honest with you, Fury is who I picked always. I just felt like he was going to be too awkward for a guy like Joshua that doesn't like awkwardness and doesn't handle it well. Also, Fury's a guy who's very good at baiting, and Joshua's a guy that can be baited. That said, though, honestly, after we saw Tyson Fury last, I was convinced Joshua can beat him. That said, dude, I don't know. The car crash, I just feel like, honestly, I'd feel like I'd rather never see Joshua fight again. And I want to see him fight Wilder, and I want to see him fight Fury. But it's like, at this point, I know what happened with Spence. right? I know what happened with Spence, and I'm not saying that the car crash actually took anything out of him for sure. What I am saying though is that that was the narrative, and that's a narrative that's going to live for a really long time, and it's going to have history is going to have to go through like several generations before people don't bring that up as much, right? But for now, it's a big part of the narrative, and I think Joshua, I don't know, it's not worth the risk, I guess.
Absolutely, bro. No, I mean, I get it, and it's a fun fight. It's a fight everybody,
Very,
in terms of fight fans, something I feel like I would still care to want to see who would win that fight, especially and even though not it's not in their prime, it's not who they were, it's not unifying belts like we wanted. But if these guys are still active, and if they're not gonna fight the young cream of the crop that's coming up, give me those fights with each other and maybe head out the door, like you said, man. I would agree with that for sure. But ladies and gentlemen, that has been the show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We did a good little number tonight. Thank you for tapping into the late night show. Thank you for liking and thank you to the new subscribers that have subscribed over here at Talking About Radio here with me, Matt Garces. And shout out to everybody tuned in over at Infighting FX. Mario, appreciate you, bro, jumping on with me tonight, especially on a nice little Friday night like
of
tonight
course.
after a long SmackDown.
Yeah, it was good, man. This is the first stream that I've done since Canella. We put her down last week, and I was gonna come back on actually Tuesday and then Wednesday, and when it didn't happen, I was for sure gonna do it yesterday. But I had some issues and I couldn't do it. So I had been ready, you know what I mean? But I definitely needed a few days, you know. It's like it's weird not to look back and see her there, you know. I always caught her begging like in the frame, you know. It was almost like she knew she was on camera and knew she could like convince me that way. But yeah, so it was good. It was good to do this and like kind of just have the first dip of my toe before, you know, coming back fully next week. But appreciate you, champ. Great show, by the way. Super good.
Absolutely, bro. You know, that's what we're here for, bro. And you know, animals are family too, especially when they've been around for a long time. They really
Oh yeah.
become family. And that's what we're here for. That's why it's called Talking About Radio. We will be back as we are gearing up for the NBA playoffs. And then here, I believe in the next obviously we're gonna start. Let me start from the beginning. The NBA playoffs start next week. Also next week, night one, night two, WrestleMania is live. First hour on ESPN, the rest on the ESPN app. Then, following that, we will have the NFL draft. Mario as our Texas teams go into the NFL drafts, making moves. The Houston Texans have made great moves, especially at the running back position. Will they build up that offensive line? And the Dallas Cowboys enter the draft with 2 first-round picks and have been rumored to make some moves. We will touch up on that and much more Monday afternoon. And then keep an eye out for everybody. Also, thank you for tuning into the streams. But that has been the show. I am Matt Garces. Thank you for tuning in here at Talking About Radio. I am your host. That is Mario Munguia. Remember to follow him and everybody over at Infighting FX. Till next time,